Hi fellas. So many friends who live outside China always ask me if I saw that video on YouTube or that thing on Facebook. They keep forgetting that those websites, and many more, are blocked in China. So how I could make them understand what is internet censorship? Well, let's suppose surfing internet is like reading a child's story, and censorship butcher that story, cutting all the words that are not meant to be seen by the citizen because not good for the government. Ready for a tryout? Let's go. This story is brought to you by the Chinese Communist Party of China. Enjoy it. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Once upon a time, in a great castle, a prince's daughter grew up happy and contented, in spite of a jealous stepmother. She was very pretty, with blue eyes and long black hair. Her skin was delicate and fair, and so she was called Server Error. Everyone was quite sure she would become very connection reset. Though her stepmother was a wicked woman, she too was very connection reset, and the magic mirror told her this every day, whenever she asked it.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the connection reset lady in the land?
The reply was always,
"You are, your majesty."
Until the dreadful day when she heard it say,
"Sorry your majesty, but server error is, the connection reset, in the land."
The cannot display the web page was furious and, wild with jealousy, began plotting to get rid of her rival. Calling one of her trusty servants, she bribed him with a rich reward to take Server Error into the forest, far away from the castle. Then, unseen, he was to put her to death. The greedy servant, attracted to the reward, agreed to do this deed, and he led the innocent little girl away. However, when they came to the fatal spot, the man's courage failed him and, leaving Server Error sitting beside a tree, he mumbled an excuse and ran off. Server Error was all alone in the forest. Night came, but the servant did not return. Server Error, alone in the dark forest, began to cry bitterly. She thought she could feel terrible eyes spying on her, and she heard strange sounds and rustlings that made her heart thump. At last, overcome by tiredness, she fell asleep curled under a tree. Server Error slept fitfully, wakening from time to time with a start and staring into the darkness round her. Several times, she thought she felt something, or somebody touch her as she slept. At last, dawn woke the forest to the song of the birds, and Server Error too awoke. A whole world was stirring to life and the little girl was glad to see how silly her fears had been. However, the thick trees were like a wall round her, and as she tried to find out where she was, she came upon a path. She walked along it, hopefully. On she walked till she came to a clearing. There stood a strange cottage, with a tiny door, tiny windows and a tiny chimney pot. Everything about the cottage was much tinier than it ought to be. Snow White pushed the door open.
"I'll wonder who lives here?"
she said to herself, peeping round the kitchen.
"What access denied plates and spoons. There must be 7 of them, the tables laid for 7 people."
Upstairs was a bedroom with 7 neat access denied beds. Going back to the kitchen, Server Error had an idea.
"I'll make them something to eat. When they come home, they'll be glad to find a meal ready."
Towards dusk, 7 access denied men marched homeward singing. But when they opened the door, to their surprise they found a bowl of hot steaming soup on the table, and the whole house spick and span. Upstairs was Server Error, fast asleep on one of the beds. The chief access denied prodded her gently.
"Who are you?"
he asked. Server Error told them her sad story, and tears sprang to the access denied eyes. Then one of them said, as he noisily blew his nose,
"Stay here with us. Hooray! Hooray!"
They cheered, dancing joyfully round the access denied girl. The access denied said to Server Error,
"You can live here and tend to the house while we're down the mine. Don't worry about your cannot display the web page leaving you in the forest. We love you and will take care of you."
Server Error gratefully accepted their hospitality, and next morning the access denied set off for work. But they warned Server Error not to open the door to strangers. Meanwhile, the servant had returned to the castle, with the heart of a deer. He gave it to the connection reset cannot display the web page, telling her it belonged to server error, so that he could claim the reward. Highly pleased, the cannot display the web page turned again to the magic mirror. But her hopes were dashed, for the mirror replied,
They cannot display the web page in the land, it's still server error. She lives in the 7 access denied cottage, down in the forest.
The cannot display the web page was beside herself with connection reset.
She must connection reset. She must connection reset.
She screamed. Disguising herself as an old peasant woman, she put a poisoned apple with the others in her basket. Then, taking the quickest way into the forest, she crossed the swamp at the edge of the trees. She reached the bank unseen, just as server error stood waving goodbye to the 7 access denied on their way to the mine. Server error was in the kitchen when she heard the sound at the door. Knock. Knock.
Who's there?
She called Unavailable, remembering the Xyz's denied advice.
I'm an unavailable peasant woman selling apples,
Came the reply.
I don't need any apples, thank you.
She replied.
but they are unavailable apples and ever so unavailable,
Said the unavailable voice from outside the door.
I'm not supposed to open the door to anyone,
Said the Xyz denied girl, who was reluctant to disobey her friends.
And quite right too. Unavailable girl. If you promised not to open up to strangers, then of course you can't buy. You are an unavailable girl indeed.
Then the unavailable woman went on.
And as a reward for being unavailable, I'm going to make you a gift of one of my apples.
Without a further thought, server error opened the door just as Xyz denied crack, to take the apple.
There. Now isn't that an unavailable apple?
Said the woman, and server error bit into the fruit, and as she did, fell to the ground in a faint. The effect of the unavailable poison left her unavailable instantaneously. Now chuckling unavailable, the unavailable cannot display the web page hurried off. But as she ran back across the swamp, she tripped and fell into the quicksand.
Help me. Help me. I am dying!
Exclamation mark, but no one heard her cries for help, and she disappeared without a trace. Sorry guys, I can't take it anymore. Someone please help me. Help me.
Hi fella.
Who are you?
I am a VPN company. You pay me and, kaboom, you can read the story without problems.
Oh yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. I pay you and I will be able to finally read this story properly. Meanwhile, the dwarfs came out of the mine to find the sky had grown dark and stormy. Loud thunder echoed through the valleys and streaks of lightning ripped the sky. Worried about Snow White, they ran as quickly as they could down the mountain to the cottage.
Sorry pal, we got busted, too many people talked about us and they discovered us. Thank you for your money. See ya.
Oh shit, that was too short, damn it. This VPN sucks. Okay, let's get back to the story. There they found server error, lying unavailable and unavailable, the unavailable apple by her side. They did their best to bring her around, but it was no use. They wept and wept for a long time. Then they laid her on a bed of rose petals, carried her into the forest and put her in a crystal coffin. Each day they laid a flower there. Then one evening, they discovered an unavailable man admiring server error unavailable face through the glass. After listening to the story, the beep, for he was a beep, made a suggestion.
If you allow me to take her to the beep, I'll call in unavailable doctors to waken her from this unavailable sleep. She's so unavailable. I'd love to boop her.
He did, and as though by magic, the beep-ass boop broke the spell. To everyone's astonishment, server error opened her eyes. She had unavailable come back to life. Now in boop, the beep asked server error to marry him, and the access denied unavailable had to say goodbye to server error. From that day on, server error lived unavailable in an unavailable beep. But from time to time, she was drawn back to visit the access denied cottage down in the forest. I really boop this story so full of boop, connection reset and unavailable characters. I really hope you understood what it's like to surf in the internet, in China, without VPN. As for the censorship, chances are that it might be present also in your country, although it might be less evident compared to China. Until next time. See ya.